This morning to bring the Word of God to you. And it's a word that I believe is designed to invigorate something inside of you, to cause something to come to life. I believe that the Word this morning will come like a pin and burst the bubbles of our lives and give us a fresh revelation of who God is and what truth is. Thanks, team. Well done. I'm going to go with my technology today. But if all else fails, I got my notes in the front row. I'm going to be looking at the book of John, and we might be going to the notes. Pastor John, good mind. I know we've got this huge table in the middle to divide us. Alright, technology failed, but trust your paper works beautifully. John chapter 18, if you want to turn there. And verse 33. Now we're going to go back in time here because today we're celebrating Easter Sunday. It's the day that, like I mentioned before, the ladies came to the tomb. They expected to find the body and prepare Jesus for burial. But in fact, there was no body to be found. Jesus was already risen by that point, and that will be our ending point today. But our starting point, we're going to go right back to Good Friday. Even before Jesus Christ hung on that cross, at the time that he was being accused and had to appear before the judge Pilate. We find us at this point in John chapter 18, and it says this. Pilate went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus to come to him, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "Is that your own idea, or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it that you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom's not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders, but my kingdom's from another place." "So you are a king then?" Poor Pilate, you can just imagine how confused he's getting in this moment. But Jesus answered and said, "You say that I'm a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him." He asked this great question that has been echoed through the corridors of time. In fact, it's one that we actually ask ourselves and we ask of the world. What is truth? How do we put a definition? How do we answer this question? It's a great question that Pilate asked. And Jesus had in fact alluded to it. He had in fact prepared the answer, but Pilate missed it in the process. What is truth? We're going to come back and revisit that in a moment, but let me tell you a bit of a story. So at the start of this month, we had our Verge collection for our green waste, and so I thought I would make the most of this opportunity because I don't want to pay tip fees when I can get it done for free. So I went into the garden and I started chopping down all sorts of branches and trees, and it sort of becomes a bit addictive after a while. I mean, I know that it kind of sounds like it's just a bit of gardening, but when you're cutting down branches, cutting down trees, and getting to that sort of sense of destruction and kind of feel a little bit like Hulk, feel not look a little bit like Hulk. And so I got a bit carried away, and there was this massive branch that went out about 6 or 7 meters from our bottle brush tree, and I was looking at it and I thought, well, I think I might cut it down because of 3 reasons to be honest with you, but the 2 of them. First one is that in a storm it could come and that whole branch could fall because there's a lot of weight that's leaning against it. Secondly is this great opportunity to get rid of it today in the Birdside collection. It's going to open up the look of the house anyway. And thirdly, I've got like Hulk and I wanted to destroy something. And so I decided I'm going to bring the kids out with me because what can go wrong with bringing a 5 and a 3-year-old boy out the front when you're cutting down a massive tree. And so I bring them out, I warn them, I do all the safety things, I get the ladder up, I've got the saw and I'm cutting away at this thing, and I hear some commotion going on the driveway, but that's normal. You got boys, and they fight, they argue, they talk, whatever. It's not a big deal. And so I keep soaring away at this thing and getting about the halfway point, so it's sort of that borderline, is it going to fall, is it not? I just want to get this thing done, I just want to get the job finished. But then finally I hear this commotion just keep building and building and building, and I think, well, I better go over and be a good dad and check it out. And as I come over, I hear my 3-year-old give some words that I didn't want to hear from him. He said, "Judah, we on me." What do you mean, Judah, we on you? How can Judah, we on you? Well, it turns out that I wasn't paying enough attention to them and they needed to go to the bathroom. And being boys, there was a better way to do it than to go inside and race to the bathroom itself. They decided they would do the deed right there. And I thought, okay, maybe, Ben was in the way and got something on his foot. So I went over there to check out what had happened. And as I go down to look at little 3-year-old Ben looking up at me, he's got 3 water lines across his head. And there's drips going all down his face. And, being a good dad, calm and under control, I grabbed him, I said, "Judah, sit down there, you're in timeout, you're lucky I don't give you a smack." Grabbed Ben, I bring him over to the hose, wash him down, get everything off his hair, come back and say, "What happened?" And Judah comes and tells me, and he says, "Well, it's not my fault that Ben came down to look." And I'm trying to sort this out. I'm like, well, yes, he shouldn't have come to look, but we've got a situation here, and I'm just going to make sure that Mum doesn't walk out. And about a minute later, Mum walks out, and before I can say anything, Ben has run up to her and says, "Judah, we on me." By this time, he's completely drenched because I've covered him in the water, and I'm freaking out a little bit. And Dora replies with this, something to the effect of, "Is this true?" And I think to myself, maybe I should reply like Pilate did. Well, what is truth? You can kind of make it a little bit what you want. And that brings us to my point today. When it comes to truth and reality, there are certain distortions that we can make to kind of make the truth fit around our lives. But as Christians, that's actually not our job. There is a difference between reality and the truth. Reality, let me give you some definitions. A worldly definition is a hallucination caused by lack of drink and drugs. Another definition of reality, the one thing that prevents us from having perfect lives. I quite like that one. Reality, that horrible time between sleep and the internet. And finally this one, how you perceive, experience, and engage in the world. See, our reality is very personal to us. It's sort of like being in a bubble or being in a movie that's centered around our lives. It's our own experiences, using our own senses, our own history, our own aspirations, our own desires, and forming a world view. And it's a good thing in a sense, but it can quickly become misaligned to the truth. I want to tell you about Fluffy. Now, my neighbours have recently got a new guinea pig, and they really raised this from a young age. And little Fluffy was out there playing. They were playing out the front with it, and kind of had all the Easter eggs out and everything, and having a great time. And with the little guinea pig jumping around, going wherever he wanted to go, and everything was going fine until I went to reverse out from my driveway, and we've got a really long, narrow driveway. And little Fluffy, well, let's just say he ventured over and it wasn't good for him. Now, all of you right now are looking shocked, disappointed, horrified, and quite traumatized. But this isn't true. There is no Fluffy. I do have a long, narrow driveway, but I never ran over any animals. Nothing happened. But in that moment, you felt emotion. You perceived what I was saying as reality, and you believed it was truth, and you allowed that to shape your perspective in that moment. I'm very sorry for those that are traumatized right now. Auntie Joyce, I've got some tissues at the front here. We can look after you at the end. But my point is this: reality is not always reflective of truth. So how do we bring truth into our reality? That really is the question today. I want you to take a quick look at this video up here. This one is about an illusion, and we're good to go. It's illusion about sounds and how we can our minds can actually trick us into believing a lie. Suspense is building.
Many of us have become quick to catch illusions that trick our eyes, but how often do you consider illusions of the ear? Are you really able to trust your ears and the things they hear? For example, listen to Greg speaking.
Bar, 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 bar.
What do you hear? If you heard bar, 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 you'd be right. But how about now?
Bar, 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 bar.
Chances are you heard far, far, far this time with an F, except you didn't. In fact, the audio didn't even change between the two videos.
Bar, bar, bar.
Strange as it may seem, what you hear depends on which video you're looking at. Go ahead, take turns watching each video and see how the sound morphs.
Bar, bar, bar.
This is a perfect example of something called the McGurk effect, which shows how our visuals can alter what we believe we're hearing. Now I want you to count how many times you see a circle flash on screen. Let's do that one more time. Did you see it flash twice? Many people do, yet without the sound, it becomes clear that the circle is only flashing once. In this case, the sound has altered your perceived vision. The next one works best with other people around. I'll play two tones, and you tell me if they're ascending or descending. In other words, are the notes played from low to high or high to low? Listen to this. Which was it? How about this one? Write down what you heard for each number and let us know in the comments. Chances are, if you compare with enough people, you'll all have different answers. Surprising? Try some more. And this one. How is it possible that you're hearing something different from others? It's an auditory illusion called the tritone paradox. It's created in such a way that the tones contain both a higher and lower frequency in them, but our brains have a preference of which to listen to. Diana Deutsch, the creator of this illusion, found that your geography and language from infancy all play a role in deciding this preference. Finally, listen to this audio clip of a gradually climbing tune. Yet, if I play the exact same clip back to you, it will sound like it's only continuing to climb higher and higher. I swear this is the exact same clip I just played. You can rewind that section of this video over and over and check for yourself. Try it. Each time you start it over, the tune is seemingly climbing even higher. It's called the Shepherd tone illusion, of which there are many variations. In it, multiple sine waves are played on top of one another, raising in pitch, while one quickly drops down an octave as the others continue rising. But our brain doesn't notice this drop, and so the clips sound like they're rising forever. These illusions may help to explain how something like...
Put a pause to that. Isn't it amazing how our minds, our brains can actually trick us? And we are all watching the same thing, and we're watching those sounds kind of go up and up and up and up and up. And then we keep going up that ladder. But our minds are tricking us. Our reality is not aligned with the truth. Who could pick the bar and the far? Anyone on the first go? Not many of us. Who could see it afterwards though? Yeah, so isn't it amazing that when truth comes and it's revealed, that suddenly we can see the deception for what it is, we can see the flaws in our reality? Well, the same is true in the way that we actually perceive and see the world. And so today we're going to go right back into the Bible. We're going to hit Easter Sunday in the early hours, and we're going to pick on three characters who were living in an illusion, living in a reality that was very real to them, but it wasn't based on the truth. And we're going to draw some things from our life that we can learn from these characters. The first one we're going to look at is the character of Peter. Now, Peter was a man that we understand from earlier in the Gospels that he was a man that was very bold, very forward with Jesus. In fact, he was the one that stepped out of the boat and walked on the water. He was the one that confronted Jesus when Jesus said, "Hey, I'm going to have to die. I'm going to have to leave this world." And Peter came up to him and said, "Jesus, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to make sure of it. This will not happen." And Jesus had to rebuke him, "Get behind me, Satan." Peter was very full of boldness right up until Jesus' crucifixion. And in that moment, in his trial, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. From that, we can only imagine the internal turmoil, the hurt, and that reality of failure that was so prevailing in his worldview. He would have internalized everything. What sort of a friend am I? What sort of person am I? When Jesus needed me, I turned my back on him. Not only turned my back on him, but I outright denied his existence, denied my relationship with him. And this sense of failure was so real to Peter that it sent him all the way back to doing what he did before. Do you know, in our world, it's so easy for us to individually feel that sense of failure, feel that sense of inadequacy. I'm not good enough, I don't measure up, I never achieve anything great, I'm never going to do anything great for God. And it actually becomes something that we see in our world. We see it's the way that we perceive the world. It affects our decisions, it affects what courses we choose, our career, it chooses what we do with our life, it chooses whether we're going to step into an opportunity of volunteering or leadership or join a connect group. It affects our social decisions. It starts to invade every part. But it's actually based on a lie. We'll come more to that in a moment. What about the women? The women went to find Jesus' body. I've already spoken of them a couple of times, so I won't relay it in full. But these women, when they went there, can you imagine the sense of grief that they would have experienced? The sense of sadness. And to be fair to them, they'd seen something extremely brutal and horrific. They'd seen Jesus, the one that they loved, the one that they poured a perfume on or raised or loved and followed, and seen him nailed to a cross, crown of thorns embedded into his skull, blood pouring from him. They saw him go through the most traumatic of deaths. And the sorrow and the anguish that they felt was so real to them. And here they are on Easter Sunday, feeling overwhelmed, feeling full of sorrow, living in their reality. But the truth was that Jesus Christ was already risen. And what about this one? What about Thomas? Poor Thomas. One act of doubt and he's labelled it for life. But it's true, he did doubt God. And so Thomas, he was not there with the other disciples when Jesus rose and came and saw everyone. And Thomas lived in a reality of skepticism, at least in that moment. God surely couldn't have raised Jesus again. Jesus is gone, Jesus is dead, he can't possibly be alive. He lived in a reality of doubt, lived in a reality of faithlessness. And you know, it's so easy in our world to get lost in that sort of reality, and I use that term quite loosely, in that bubble that, you know, oh, maybe we believe Jesus is real, maybe we believe that Jesus even rose from the grave, but we struggle to believe that he's going to provide for me. We struggle to believe that he's going to heal me. We doubt whether he's going to come through. We doubt whether we're going to be able to hear his voice, we're going to be able to encounter him, whether God is going to orchestrate the days of my life, whether God is going to do anything great for me. And this worldview, which is not based on truth, but it feels so real to us. Every sense, every expression, every experience points to this reality that God isn't there for me. And we find it with these three characters amongst many others. They're living in a bubble. They're living in an illusion. And we don't like the term to be disillusioned. We think it's actually a bad term. But the fact that disillusionment happens means that there was an illusion that we were living in the first place. And when God comes and brings his pin and bursts our little bubble, the bubble that we're so familiar in, the bubble that we're so comfortable in, the bubble that we are so comfortable in because we understand how predictable it is, when God comes and bursts it and says, I will provide. No, I do have a plan for your life. No, there is hope here. Come on, would you rise up? I am the one that rose from the grave. When God comes and brings his pin and bursts our little bubble and we become disillusioned, something amazing happens. We become free. We become full of hope. We become full of life. In fact, this is what the effect of truth has on us. Number one, it gives us complete freedom. Complete, uncontained freedom. John 8:32. We get direction for our lives. John 16:13. We are purified. We are made clean. We are made whole when the truth comes into our lives. John 17:17. We draw near to God and God draws near to us. John 17 verse 17. Psalm 145:18. We are protected we are guarded, Ephesians 6:4, and we are led into a place of great salvation, are led into a place of great hope, led into a place of great joy. When disillusionment comes, when it comes to a God thing, we are set free. And I'll just invite the keyboard, in fact the worship team, if you'd like to come and join me now. But we find ourselves back at this first question that keeps haunting us. The question that I asked Dora back after that story. The question that Pilate asked Jesus. What is truth? It's actually not the right question to ask. The question is not what is truth. Because truth is not a thing. The question is who is truth. The Bible tells us, in fact Jesus himself said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. How do we align our lives so that our realities match the truth? Well, it's not complex. There are not too many hoops to jump through. We just have to include Jesus in our lives. We need to align our lives to Jesus. You know, sometimes we think that subconsciously we get so caught up in a me generation, in a me world, in a world that's so focused on our lives, our entertainment, our comfort. We think that everything is supposed to be about us. And we actually forget that we're not actually the star players. We're not the lead actress or the lead actor. When it comes to the movie of our world, movie of our humanity, the lead is Jesus Christ. And when we pick up our cross, deny ourselves, and follow Him wholeheartedly, abandoning ourselves to Him, and we start following Him, we start to find that we have life. We start to find that we have freedom. We start to find that our reality starts to align with His truth. A little bit later in the service, I'm going to give you an opportunity, if you don't know Jesus Christ, to actually make Him your Lord and Saviour. I'd like here to introduce you to new teaching. I'd like here to introduce you to doctrine. I'm here to introduce you to a person. But I'm also here to knock on the door of your heart, Christian, and to remind you, to remind me, and say this